So really quick, if you haven't seen my episode on Shard of the Nightbringer, make sure you check this one out because this is a massive creature with a huge effect, and yeah, you're not going to want to miss this one. But don't leave just yet because I need your help! That's why the episode's called Please Help Mitch. Originally, I put like, please help me. But then I didn't know if people be confused to like saying like, that's what I'm saying the card is saying, like, please help me. This card, for whatever reason, is saying that. I just thought it was weird, so I said, please help Mitch, even though I usually don't talk in the third person, apparently. But regardless, I don't have very much time for this episode. I am so sorry, but I've got to make this one quick. Anyways, blame Eddie really quick in the comments below. You know why. And also blame Alec too, actually, because they both helped out a lot on this episode. So with all that said, let's jump into it. So Biotransference is just one of those cards that when you see it, you're just like, there's got to be a lot of ways to break this, right? It's an enchantment for 2 black, and it says creatures you control are artifacts in addition to their other types. The same is true for creature spells you control and creature cards you own that aren't on the battlefield. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, you lose 1 life and create a 2/2 black Necron warrior artifact creature token. So yeah, I mean, this has to be broken in like a ton of different ways, and this is the kind of card where I just looked at it, I'm like, there's got to be just like a very simple, just like direct, like, oh yeah, this one other card and this equals broken. Like, when I first saw this, I'm like, okay, this seems like a Mycosynth Lattice kind of thing. Different because it doesn't affect, your opponent's things. It only affects your creatures. Now, unlike Mycosynth Lattice, it affects, your creatures whether they're anywhere, so that helps as well. But yeah, there has just got to be something that I am missing, and yeah, that is why I'm saying, please, 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 help me with this one. Please help me, because this is just going to drive me crazy, not being able to think about, just the one card that is just like, oh yeah, this plus Biotransference equals gross times for everyone. Well, gross times for you, but gross times for everyone. But yeah, overall, it seems like a very powerful card for the right build. I mean, being able to turn your creatures into artifacts, there are certain combos that literally just revolve around that. Like, like a Liquid Metal Torque does the job just by turning one of your creatures into an artifact. That can be game ending in certain circumstances. And of course, I mean, being able to, gain a lot of value out of your artifact spells, which are going to be all your creature spells from then on by, okay, you do have to lose 1 life. Okay, that's not really all that big of a deal, though actually it can be in certain circumstances. We'll talk about it here in a bit. But yeah, now whenever you do that, you get a 2/2 artifact creature token, which of course, I mean, that can just be a ton of additional value. And we'll talk about some ways to actually break that wide open as well. But yeah, again, please, 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 I urge you, please help me out in the comments below. Let me know what I'm missing. What is the card that can just break this open? And again, a huge thank you to Eddie and Alec, because I've got some examples to bring up, that are very powerful with this, but I'm sure that you all can come up with even better ones. So, first up, I mean, the first card that came to my mind was definitely Volta Construct. It is a golem that has pay 2 untap target artifact creature. Now, this is already an artifact creature, but again, with Biotransference in play, every single one of your other creatures becomes an artifact creature too. So yeah, again, this is kind of like the Liquid Metal Torque reference, like, hey, okay, Volta Construct plus Liquid Metal Torque plus, any mana dork that essentially taps for 3 or greater equals infinite mana. So yeah, Llanowar Tribe came to mind. Tap for green, green, green. This one's very low to the ground. I mean, obviously, if you're running this in the same deck as Biotransference, it's going to be a very, very interesting deck, to say the least. And obviously, you need to be able to fix your mana pretty perfectly to get all those pips. But yeah, any mana dork out there that can tap for 3 or more, there are a ton out there that can do it, whether, that's ones that actually kind of build up over time, or ones that, just start off by tapping for a ton of mana like this one does. And of course, infinite mana, yeah, okay, that doesn't just win you the game, but there are plenty of ways to win from there. And of course, with Volta Construct, I mean, with all of your other creatures being, artifacts as well, I mean, if you just happen to have any kind of a way to tap a creature for something else, like, milling a player, or pinging a player, or drawing a card, you can do that infinitely then as well. One that was brought up by Alec, though, I believe, was Shrieking Drake and Earthcraft. This is a very interesting one. So Shrieking Drake is a 1/1 flyer. When it comes into play, you return a creature you control back to its owner's hand. It only costs a blue mana. So this actually can bounce itself back to your hand. You can actually choose it with its own trigger. So you bring it back to your hand. and you do get that trigger, you know, from your commander. You know, you lose 1 life, you make a 2/2 creature, and in combination with Earthcraft, you can just keep doing that again and again and again. Earthcraft says tap an untap creature control, untap target basic land. So yeah, untap an island, your Shrieking Drake's back in your hand, you know, do it again and again and again and again. Now, obviously, you are limited because, again, I did mention that losing 1 life usually probably isn't all that relevant, but in this situation, it definitely is. So you're limited on the amount of life that you have. But of course, there are plenty of ways out there to, you know, gain life when creatures come into play, or be able to sacrifice those creatures, you know, to gain life. I mean, if you've got any kind of a free sacrifice outlet and like a Blood Artist in play, yeah, you just win from there. So, or yeah, I mean, if you've got like a Reckless Fireweaver in play, that was another thing that was brought up. Yeah, ping down all of your opponents while your artifacts are entering the battlefield. So yeah, I mean, and obviously if you've got, you know, Shrieking Drake, which technically is then an artifact, and your Necron coming to play too, you're gonna be pinging your opponents a ton with that. Moving on, Eddie described this one as hot jank, and I would agree. How about Mishra Artificer Prodigy with a Shadowborn Apostle deck built around it? Because with Biotransference in play, Shadowborn Apostles are all artifacts. So whenever you play an artifact spell, you may search your library, hand in or library for a card the same name as that spell put into play. If you search your library this way, shuffle it. So basically, you cast a Shadowborn Apostle, and again, you usually have like, you know, 40 or so in your deck, in a Shadowborn Apostle deck or whatnot, a ton of them. You cast one for a single mana, you go get another one. Then you cast another one, you get another one. Basically, you just double up on all your Shadowborn Apostles. And yeah, again, you can use any number of Shadowborn Apostles in your deck because it does have that rule on it. And of course, then you know, you can pay a black to sacrifice 6 of them, go get a demon. Have fun with that. Yeah, that's a really interesting, and again, I think hot jank perfectly describes the way that you could go about this with Biotransference. Another interesting combination brought up by Eddie was with Metalworker and Saheeli's Directive. I mean, Metalworker says tap reveal any number of artifact cards from your hand. You're going to get 2 colors for mana for each of those that's revealed this way. Again, this can be really good in an artifact deck, but Biotransference is like, okay, now it's just however many creatures you have in your hand, essentially, you know, plus your artifacts too, because all of your creatures are now artifacts no matter where they are at. So, of course, then, I mean, that can just generate you a ton of mana, which you can use on a lot of things. I mean, one of those in a very fantastic way, Saheeli's Directive, which has Improvise. Remember the top X cards in your library. You may put any number of artifact cards with converted mana cost X less among them on the battlefield, then put all the cards revealed this way that weren't put on the battlefield into your graveyard. Basically, tap this for a ton of mana, more than you usually should be able to tap it for, you know, given the circumstance, and then dump that mana in Saheeli's Directive, reveal cards off the top, and usually you just be able to get artifact cards, but now you get all of your creature cards as well, thanks to Biotransference. So yeah, a really interesting combination. Next up, just some other cards to keep in mind and kind of how they would work with Biotransference. Let's quickly talk about cards like Mystic Forge, Darksteel Forge, and Mycosynth Golem. Mystic Forge says you may look at the top card of your library anytime. You may cast the top card of your library if it's an artifact card or a colorless non-land card. So basically, yeah, now all of your creatures are counted in this as well, so it's kind of like an improved Mystic Forge that can get even more things off the top. Next up, there's Darksteel Forge, which says artifacts you control have indestructible. So now all of your artifacts and, you know, your creatures, which are now also artifacts, are protected as well. Everything's got indestructible. Good luck, opponents. And especially good luck to them if you've got Mycosynth Golem in play, which has affinity for artifacts, so it can cost a lot less, again, based on your number of creatures and, you know, your just artifacts in general because of, you know, your Biotransference. And also on top of that, artifact creature spells you play have affinity for artifacts, so now all of your creatures in your deck have affinity. So you can do some pretty crazy things with that. And some other things to consider actually come with some legendary creatures as well. I mean, how this works with Magna Brazen Outlaw. It says sacrifice 5 treasures, search your library for an artifact or dragon card put on the battlefield, then shuffle your library. So now essentially this is just basically, hey, I don't care if it's a dragon or not. Since all of your creatures in your library are artifacts, you can go get any creature from your library when you do this, and you can get it directly into play. Next up, yeah, Urza loves artifacts. Urza's very good with artifacts, and now Urza's even better. And enters the battlefield, you get a 0/0 construct that gets bigger for each artifact you control. Most importantly, though, tap an untapped artifact you control, add blue. So, of course, every single one of your creatures now adds to your artifact count and also can now just be tapped for blue. So basically, all your creatures are, well, I mean, better mana dorks, I guess, because you can just tap them right away, again, since you're using Urza's ability to tap them and not tapping them, you know, by themselves. You know what I mean? They don't need haste. Or how about Oswald Fiddlebender? Magic Tinkering, pay a white, tap, sacrifice an artifact, search life for artifact card with mana value 1 plus the sacrifice artifact's mana value from the battlefield, then shuffle. Basically, yeah, just go, get any creature you want, essentially, that meets that requirement. So yeah, basically Oswald becomes Birthing Pod, which is quite funny. But yeah, now this episode is coming to a close. It's time for me to give you my final thoughts on Biotransference. Yeah, I mean, this card just seems like one of those that just screams at you, I can be broken in so many ways. And it's just another one of those cards where I see it and then I'm like, there's got to be just a single card I'm missing. Someone, please, 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 in the comments below, let me know. What am I missing? There's got to be something. Or, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of card combinations I'm missing, but is there a single card that's just like, yeah, why don't you talk about this one card that just immediately combos with Biotransference and it's just gross? So yeah, let me know in the comments below and make sure you check out all my other exciting quick takes and spoilers. Yeah, it's been a very exciting spoiler season so far. And with that, the show is coming to a close, so it's my turn to hear from you. So in the comments below, let me know what your thoughts on this episode are, and as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all their support.